Who is your typical listener, in terms of creating value?
Absolutely real. My listener's probably my mom. Real talk. Today on What's the Situation podcast, I'm sitting down with somebody who has been shaping music behind the scenes for over 2 decades. Producer, writer, and studio owner, Stephen Helvig. We're not just talking about the journey, we're talking about what it is and what does it take to build a career in music. The business side, the creative side, and of course the challenges it takes to run a recording studio. And maybe, just maybe, you'll hear the answer, will AI take over the music industry? The best part is, we also talk about the marketing and what does it take to grow your YouTube channel, social media platforms, and truly try to launch in today's crazy saturated market. How long have you been a producer for?
Well, it'll be 10 years in January.
10 years. You've been in the music industry, Stephen, for over 2 decades. Over two decades. Yeah. Playing music, being a producer, all of the above. Now, my question is, how did that journey start?
Well, in terms of getting into music at all, it would be, I'm 15 and I wanted to play guitar. I had a friend, maybe 2 friends that had started to play guitar a little bit. And, you see them, they bring their guitar to the cafeteria at school. Girls are a little more interested. You're like, I need to get in on this right now. And fortunately, I was able to learn from them, from my friends, just kind of playing along. I went and bought a guitar. I'd asked my parents, of course, and they were like, you quit piano, so no, we'll give you nothing now. and rightfully so. I didn't stick with that. And so I saved up some money. I bought a guitar, brought it to school, and started learning from my friends. And then, in a matter of a few months, we started a band, as one does. Fortunately, one of the friends in this band had older brother that had a band that was maybe 3-4 years older than him, had a band. So we were exposed to it. We could see their setup in the living room of their house, and we could kind of mess around and start playing. And then you do that a little bit, and it's pretty addictive. You get hooked quick. So yeah, had a band at 15, started playing shows, started writing music, learning songs, that sort of thing. That evolved into another thing, which was, while I did quit piano, I grew up in a very, very small town, southern Minnesota. Grew up on a farm.
Yep.
And the nearest town was like 700 people, and that was maybe 7-8 miles away. And the opportunity for music was small there, but there was one lady who had a music studio teaching mostly piano lessons. She had decided that she wanted to teach voice lessons. So my mom, being friends with her, and then a few of my other friends that were in the band with me, their moms all thought, let's have our kids take voice lessons together to help out and, get Kirsten more business. And maybe if they do it together, it'll be more enjoyable, because I don't think any one of us would have done it alone. And so that started that same year when I was 15. Wow. And it was, I think, 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. lessons once a week. And it was brutal right away, but it worked. It worked in that since we did it together, it was more enjoyable, and we hung in there. And while that was happening, the band was happening, and what happened was 2 different groups kind of formed. One was an a cappella quartet, and one was a punk band.
Complete opposite.
Complete opposite. And the punk band was total creative freedom. Just, it was cool. It was exciting, very DIY, a totally awesome experience. And then on the a cappella quartet thing, that was very, inside the lines, very safe. We're singing at churches, we're doing community events, that kind of thing. But they had completely different. What was really cool about this being the start of my musical experience is that it was such a wide range of different things, but really good education. On one half, I was learning an instrument and how to songwrite. On the other half, I was honing my ear and my voice specifically. And you were also dealing with two different types of audiences, two different markets. You had the church gig,
right?
Pays well,
Yes.
and pretty low expectations. Ultimately, they're just happy for you to be there. And if somebody can fill the spot, they're because they're just a lot of times looking for anything to just anybody to step up and to sing Amazing Grace or whatever hymns. And on the other side, you have to do all the work to get people there, right? You have to convince, you have to sell, you have to, And so both of these experiences were really, really valuable as I look back as being the start of this. And both of them were independent. We had to decide how much were show tickets going to be. Were they going to be free? Were we going to have to, and then how much should we get paid for this community event where we're going to sing 4 songs and, whatever.
Right, right.
And all of it was great. That's where it all started. Eventually, I went to college, got a music degree, studying vocal performance, and then right after college, started up a business. I know I'm skipping all the fun stuff quickly, but got into the studio business. That's sort of where I realized was my best fit, and I've been doing that for 17 years.
Amazing, amazing. So when you finished college, you started the studio. Was there like a decision mode where you're like, hey, instead of going full performance, because you were in a band, 2 bands, think about that. Instead of like, hey, I want to really create music for others, why did you choose, or what was the yearning to choose becoming a producer?
I think there was 2 things that happened kind of at the same time, and it wasn't like an all of a sudden sort of situation. I definitely, all through college, all through high school, all through college, I was still performing and thinking of myself as just being in a band and being an artist.
Right.
When I was in college, I started recording records, and that's when I got the experience of the studio, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. This is fun. I like this. I could do this. And I was in college that I started interning at the studio I now inhabit. And so, there was a growing passion for that, but I was still playing. And even when I started up doing studio business work, I was still an artist. I still had a band. And in fact, I created another band shortly after that, 9 Tomorrows with David Kellogg. And we took that very seriously. We did touring. It was, I think once that kind of ended, and I don't know, I mean, it's probably even before that, I had 2 realizations. One is that I was really, really enjoying the production work, and it was more steady and more predictable. And I also was like, I'm okay as an artist, but I'm not that good. Like,
It's tough to realize who you are, man. Self-awareness.
Yeah, like there's a lot of people that are more talented than I am at this. And I don't even know that many people, yet I know plenty that are better than I am. So
not for nothing, you are very talented. Just so the viewers know, I've heard you sing and I've heard you play guitar. You're very talented. So this is humility 101 here.
I'm more talented than some, but far less talented than the people out there that still struggle to make it. And I was just kind of seeing that, going, this is. I don't know if I'm going to make it here. Like, this, it was just a tough gig.
Right.
And the studio business was a little bit more accessible. And I thought, weighing the talents that I had, that I was better at doing the studio stuff. A quick example was one realization that I had. I had made a record in college, and I think I wrote most of the songs on the record. There's maybe 3 or 4 that my other bandmates had wrote. And then I was a co-writer on those. And I was like, I like the songs that I'm not writing more. Like where I had, this person had an idea, and then I thought like my contributions to help make this better were important. And I was really proud of those. And I was like, I think I'm better at making people's stuff better than just being the seed, the idea of the song. And that's what a producer is in a big way. And so it was like, I just think what comes easier to me was the production side of things. That just felt like it fit. And so, all these things happen at once. I just, kept kind of going and leaning more and more into one. And then after that final band was over, it was like, okay, I'm just going to go all in on just focusing on being a producer.
Stephen, tell me more about Helvig Productions.
Helvig Productions is sort of meant to be the extra bandmate in your project. We come in and fill the missing role that you have. For, I would say, a majority, that's simply, we need somebody to record this. We don't know how to do that. We don't have the gear. We don't have the space. We need somebody to record this. Fair enough. We can do that. But a lot of times it's more nuanced than that. It can be, we need that, and we also aren't sure what to do with these songs. Like, we're not sure if they're good enough yet. We definitely know that there's some problems here and there. Or it might be, all I have is an idea for a song. In fact, I don't even know how to put it together yet. Maybe you're a solo artist. You don't have a band. You don't have an arrangement for this song. You've been playing it on your acoustic guitar in your room, and you imagine what it could sound like, but you don't know how to do that. That's a producer, right? And so then I'm helping to unlock what that vision is, and how do we get there? How do we make that sound that you've only dreamt of reality? Other times it can be anything from, full-on songwriting for people to playing instruments, singing,
Yes.
Adding creative contributions from a performance standpoint, writing standpoint, arranging standpoint. Then there's the technical standpoint. So when I say we're that extra bandmate, I mean that, we're the missing member, and we're gonna mold ourselves depending on what you think you're missing, or what we maybe together deem is like, well, this is what we need to do. We actually might need to bring in somebody else to play that part. Maybe it shouldn't be done by you. Maybe we should have a session musician come in and do something, or maybe we should, instead of recording your live performance of this, maybe we need to break it down and do it piece by piece, or construct it in a certain pattern, in a certain way, to get the results that are going to be more aligned to what your goals are.
You're the cool missing bandmate,
Well, let's hope so.
right? When you're in a band and you're like, I really hope we get like a cool person. You think about like some of the large bands, Metallica, Beatles. I mean, I'm sure they go vet through a ton of artists and whatever. Like, well, Beatles, that takes us way back. But realistically, it's that bandmate that comes in and they have like all the answers. And it's like, creatively, this is pretty ingenious. This is sweet. Like, you have options, you have variety, you have instruments, you have ideas and ideas. And I think a good producer is definitely one who can idea generate and put out those ideas with like, hey, listen, let's get to the sound we love. Let's get to the direction we love. And the cool missing bandmate, I think that's where it's at.
Yeah, and outside of the music stuff too, one thing that we really aim to do that I think is different than other studios is we also do videography for people, which is just social media posts essentially. It just kind of sprung out of, we were having so many new artists that were releasing music with just no content, or what they were doing was just inadequate. It was like, this would be better if you did nothing, maybe. And
you do music videos, which is nice because your studio's beautiful. You can, come on, who doesn't want a package where they come in and they get music done professionally, the cool, missing bandmate they really wish they had, and they get a video done for that song? Sold,
That's the hope, I think we work with a lot of people that are doing their first projects. I would say it's kind of like maybe 70% is fairly new to the recording process. And so while I do think that, stuff like social media eventually you should be doing on your own, it can be helpful to see somebody else make some posts for you and to show you like, it's okay. Like, being on camera is tough, it can feel very cringy. It can feel really awkward. And so we try to help get artists comfortable doing that right away. We'll take care of the camera stuff, we'll work it, but they get to see themselves looking into the camera, doing an interview and that sort of thing. And eventually it's going to become easier for them when they start doing it on their own. So we build that into the process. And then also just kind of being there to be that extra ear, the mentor. Like, there's a lot of questions about the music business. There's a lot of, how do we do this? And what do these royalties mean? And how do I get my music to this platform? And so we're trying to be a little bit of a one-stop shop for people so that they get all of these things. Like, we're not doing videography to the extent that, of course, you do it. Like, we openly say, like, we do stuff, but they're promo videos. They're not music videos. Like, if you want a music video, you can go to Steffen.
But here's the reality. And this, I tell this to many people, and I think this is a bad thing that I do, because the reality is any content is good content, just like any publicity is good publicity. Yeah. And you can make so much money just using your iPhone by just posting and properly just getting the content that people want to see. It's knowing your audience, knowing yourself, and posting. So in the long run, any content is great content. I mean, there's some content you don't want to post, but most content is good.
I agree entirely with you. I would just say that if somebody's asking me for a music video and I show up with my iPhone and I'm charging them for it, they might have they might have a right to be angry about that.
I mean, don't tell them you're bringing an iPhone.
So
that's funny.
That's all. It's just, I think that you're 100% right, but they don't need to pay for that content, right? They can just make that on their own.
Yes, absolutely. Throughout the years, how has your creative process evolved?
I would say that there's a few big parts of the creative process that are important to me that have come with experience. One is having limitations on what I'm doing, whether that's time limitations or tool limitations or some, I don't know, arbitrary creative boundary of some sort, is really helpful. When things are too wide open, it's really, really difficult to be creative, I think. It's actually worse. It seems maybe contrary in that you think, there's no boundaries, I can do anything I want. I find that you don't get anywhere productive a lot of times with that approach. Having limitations really helps. Sometimes that can be just a deadline, forcing people to get things done, right? That's an easy example. But for me, I have so many plugins and software tools, right? More than I could ever possibly even audition. And so if I set out, like, I need to find the best possible sound that the artist is looking for this, I would die looking for it. I'll never get, you know what I mean? There's too many to listen to. So when it's like, well, I'll just go through these two options and I'm going to pick the best one and move forward. You'd be surprised at how often that'll work just fine. And even if at the moment, if I'm like, well, I'm not sure this is exactly it or if it's good enough yet, if I just keep moving, either the answer comes later or other variables twist and turn into place where now it's actually better than I thought for whatever reason. Right. Or, I can always circle back to it. If it is a problem later on, I can just go look at something later and go deep dive to solve a problem. But by just keeping things flowing and moving forward, that's really, really important. So I think limitations is one of them. I think the second piece of my creative process that's evolved over time is how I collaborate. That is actually, and I think this is useful across anything, not just music, is that when you're working with somebody on their project, and maybe you're the expert, I've found that the more I can work to find solutions within their vision, the better. Even if it's not maybe what I would do if it was just up to me. Essentially, working to always find win-win. Because what I want ultimately is the client to be happy and a good product. But more than anything, I want them to be happy because art is subjective. So I could think it's great. If they don't like it, then then it didn't work, right? Nobody, if they don't agree, then they're right. And so my collaboration process has been, it used to be a little bit more like, okay, I think I know what I can do or what could happen on this project. And then it would be, how do I convince the artist to go this direction? Because this is what would be better for it. That's changed now to more, let me really understand what you're looking for, and then stay as open-minded as possible about it, and then just give like a number of reasonable, like, I think we could do this, this, and this, and then at the very end, figure out how I'm going to actually do it, instead of starting with what I'm going to do.
See, I love that. Musicians have a brain that is different. I myself, as a musician, recently came in and we were working on a guitar part.
Yeah. Yes.
And I remember I couldn't express what was in my head. And it was super hard for me. You took the minute, you understood, and within an hour, we started tracking the part that I wanted exactly. And it was a John Mayer phenomenon, you know? And like, it was just you and Dan working collaboratively, especially like writing the part, which was on your end. It was absolutely incredible. But I love that. And that made me feel like, dang, I'm seen. And everything in here was captured. Yes. Because it's hard to capture here.
That is actually a great example. And for those that weren't there in the room and understand it, the breakdown of it is that Stephen had this idea, didn't have the words to say like exactly what he meant. So I had a solution right away of like, I know what will work for this song and we could just do it. And we could have just forced it through. And in years past, I probably would have just been like, no, we're going to do it this way because you're not saying any actual words here, Stephen, like, that are helping us. And this works. Yeah. Let's move on. But having the patience and the confidence at this point to go, well, let's keep scratching that itch. Let's see if we can figure that out, even though it seems right now maybe unlikely that we will, but let's find out. And so then we keep asking questions, we keep trying different things. And even like there was some impatience among your brothers. We're like, we like this other part, let's move on, you know, like, and rightfully so, fine. But still being able to be like, hey, let's just another 10 minutes, just like, let's just see. It's that, because it's when you do that really interesting creative things happen. We would not have come up with that part, and it was a very cool part. And it was because we had the patience to just kind of keep digging, and the trust that, well, it might be worth finding this answer. It might be harder, but it might be worth it. And if I would have settled earlier, it would have been a win in the sense that I got what I thought worked for you. But by waiting, we get a win-win because now you're so excited about it, and I still think we got a good product, right? Yes. And I think that that's a really crucial skill to the creative process, because people need to feel seen. They need to feel like there's situations where we do that and we still don't really uncover it. Every now and then that happens. Like, they don't always end perfectly. True. But if the client believes that you are really trying to figure out what it is, like truly, then there's trust, and they'll keep coming back and they'll keep trying to find the language. Maybe for the next time they'll find out what it is. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't happen in one session. Sometimes you have to invest more time into it to really get down to the bottom of things.
See, I love that. I love that. In your creative process, how does, obviously this crazy turning thing called AI is coming into play and it's taken over the world. How does that supplement or not supplement your business now as being, recording, being a musician, all of the above?
Oh man, this is such a hot topic, especially in the music business. As you may already know, there are, AI bands on Spotify. There's all kinds of AI music. And I think when it comes to the arts in general, people are pretty sensitive about AI. I don't think a whole lot of people care if AI is writing your emails, but they care a bit more when AI writes a song that you like, that you didn't know was AI. They can feel betrayed, in that sense. And I think, I think people feel that across the arts, and I think specifically in music, we have a tendency to believe or want to believe that that song we're listening to is a true story by the person singing it. That's not always true, of course, but or it's a story, even if it's not about the person singing it, it was a story that they wrote. It's something from their imagination. And so if artists start using AI to invent songwriting and things like that, I just think that won't go as well. Whereas in other art forms, whether you're an author, if you're a movie maker, like fiction is a big part of it, like just inventing things that aren't real.
Right.
That's less of the case in music for whatever reason, even though there's nothing wrong with just writing a song that has no truth or no basis in reality for you personally. It's just a good song. But people generally aren't as into that in music. So AI makes that worse in the music world, and I think people are very, very hesitant with it, or secretive, I would say. I think people will use it, but be very secretive about it. Okay, when it comes to my business, production and studio stuff, in general, my take on the tools that are coming out is that they will continue to raise the bar in terms of expectations of quality, which has already gone way higher than they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Like what somebody's first record or demo sounds like now is infinitely better than it was when I started. It's extremely competitive. I think AI continues to raise that bar where there used to be, and for anybody that's my age or older, like if somebody was in college and put out a record, like you didn't expect that to sound like it was on the radio.
No.
Now people do. Like if it sounds bad, like they're not going to listen to it. Like you have to have a certain quality, no matter how old you are or if it's your first record, because it used to be you only got that quality if you were signed to a major label, because then you could get into a big studio and so on. Like that's all gone. Now everybody has access to stuff that's high quality and it's very affordable. And so the bar has raised. Well, now everybody's going to have access to AI, which will be like having a producer for hire for $10 a month that can write a song for you, do an arrangement for you, play any instrument you want for you, anything.
Yeah.
So that's going to raise the bar to, I don't know how much higher it could possibly go, but it changes things. So what that means is that I think ultimately AI tools will be pretty good for creativity in sense of you have no reason not to put out something very good and very creative.
Yeah.
You have it's affordable, it's accessible. Now it's just you have to be creative. So I think that's a good thing. I think the bad side of it is that it's going to continue to break the economics. It's already pretty broken in terms of the business side of music, and it's just going to kind of shatter that to some extent. I think the downside of AI is that the people that are trying to make a living on music or other things, that's going to get harder to do. It's already not easy. It's going to get harder to do. It'll become more and more clearly a hobby. Like most people do it as a hobby. That's the reality of the music business, right? There's only a few that really fully make it into touring artists.
Yeah.
And plenty of people are okay with that, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think it'll be more clearly positioned as, if you do music, right now, if somebody says, hey, I do music, you might go, okay, well, are you like doing it for real? Like, are you playing shows? Are you doing that thing? I think now pretty soon, it could be more like, if somebody said, yeah, I play basketball, you may not ask right away, like, so you're going to be in the NBA? Like, is that your goal? Like, are you going, like, is pro your goal?
Yeah.
You just assume you just like basketball.
Good for you.
And you play it for fun. It's just your hobby, right?
Right.
You wouldn't immediately jump to, you must take this very seriously in that sense, in like a professional sense. I think music could become that a little bit more, just because it'll be so flooded with really high quality stuff everywhere.
Speaking of flooded, do you think we'll ever see cultural giants like Pink Floyd, Metallica, Zeppelin, the Beatles? Do you think we'll ever see that again with high quality, potentially, from producer stuff or AI stuff, a mixture of stuff? Do you think we'll ever see that caliber of musicians again?
Well, I think that's a topic I've talked on before, but I think first we should clarify a little bit about what you're saying. To say caliber of musician implies talent level. And I would say that we already have that. That exists everywhere. We have people that are that good. What makes Metallica, Pink Floyd, the Beatles, or even up to Taylor Swift, right? Huge icons is their cultural weight and the amount of success they have that led to the cultural weight, right? So what we have to ask is, how does an artist get that much cultural weight? It used to be kind of thought of, and maybe perhaps in the earlier days, it was talent. You were really good. People listened to you. They bought a lot of records. The wheel keeps turning, right? You do more music, you last. There's the longevity of these careers, making just really important works. I think that that's true, but I think the other side of that is that you have to sustain attention for a really long time, right? You have to be in the mix as a popular icon, one way or another, for a long period of time to have cultural weight. People have to know your name. You have to become a household name. So that takes talent and it takes time. But today, in order to do that, frankly, I just don't think you can. And that's not because of talent. It's not because of the ability to get attention. It's that the way that our media is set up doesn't allow for it anymore. When the Beatles got big, there was like one TV station. And they were on that TV station when they came to America and played Ed Sullivan, and everybody saw them, and it was like, boom.
Yeah.
There we are. Now we're here.
Yeah.
There's no equivalent of that now. There's absolutely no equivalent. You could be on a Netflix show, or you could be on the biggest Spotify playlist, or you could be playing the Super Bowl, and you would still only have a fraction of the audience in terms of viewers that the Beatles had when they went on their one TV show. It's so fragmented. We have hundreds of streaming options. We have hundreds of we have millions of content creators. We have hundreds of playlists. We have, you know what I mean? Like, a hit song now is relatively tiny in terms of its streaming numbers to what it used to be. First week album sales in the 90s were millions. Now you could chart if you sell like 10,000. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
So it's that fragmented. And so just no matter how big you are, you can't, there's not a media channel that has enough eyeballs. Everybody's stealing from everybody else in terms of attention, viewer attention. You could be big on TikTok, but nobody on Instagram saw you. Like, think about that alone, just social media. Like, you could have something huge, like hundreds of millions of viewers on a piece of content, and then that you saw, and I didn't.
Right.
I didn't see it. I've never even heard of that person. Right? And so
right.
These artists just came up in a time where there was only so many options. And so then if you were good and you had all of the things working for you, you also just had the benefit of having a funnel pointed at you. That's gone now. Now you can be, like, all the time on my podcast, Secrets from the Scene, where I have artists come in, I'll have somebody that's like, wow, they're doing really cool things. They just got on a European tour.
Wow.
They're, millions and millions of streams. And I can guarantee you there's plenty of people in this city, and they're from here, right? plenty of people here have never seen them, never heard of them, don't know anything about them.
I watch your podcast. I don't know most people.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys are maybe one of the largest groups in the state. Nobody knows who you are here, generally speaking.
We serve the Slavic Russian speaking community, so it's like if you're in that community, you've heard of us. But if you're not,
Yes,
it's
but
like,
if you're not, you've
who are you?
You're right. You know, there's artists that come on the podcast, right, that are touring through all across America, Europe, so on, and have, you know, millions of plays and getting cool opportunities and stuff. But you guys would just crush them in terms of streams, crush them. But you've never heard of each other, right? And it's that's the world we live in. What that does then is it means that nobody can really keep attention for long enough to become as big as what a Taylor Swift is. Taylor Swift came up at the very end of that, where there was, you know, still a little pre-streaming, like it was all happening there, but was able to get to that position where she was really huge.
Yeah.
And because even now, and obviously now there's the celebrity stuff, the celebrity culture and the influencer culture and all that stuff ties into music. But even now, if you became a huge YouTuber or a huge celebrity of some sort, it would still only be not that big. I don't think you could ever get to the size of like Michael Jackson.
Right.
Unless media can condense back down, where now there's not 1,000 options, but all it does is just keep splintering and splintering and splintering, where now people don't even watch, you know, let's say in terms of top channels of movies or TVs, you know, like a lot of people don't even ignore all of those and only go to Twitch or only go to YouTube or only go to those kind of places. And then you think of all the audiences that have never even watched anything on those platforms.
Right.
Demographic wise.
Oh, yeah.
There's a ton.
Yeah,
right?
Slavic community has Telegram and WhatsApp and all those platforms where there's channels and channels of music and social media kind of posts. And it's like, it's their own little, like, hey, it's our own little community. Yeah. Like, let's hang out here. And it doesn't have likes or comments. It just has everything else.
So I don't think it's about talent. I do think that there are really incredible groups all the time that'll happen. The other part of it, that thing that gives icon status, is the shared experience of them. When you grow up with, let's say, I don't know, Van Halen or somebody like that, right? Some rock icon that was huge and was huge for a long time, and it becomes a soundtrack to your life, and everybody you knew who they were too. And these songs were really, really shared, whether that was at parties or sporting events or wedding dances or whatever, you know. But there was a handful of songs that were kind of the backdrop to your generation.
Yeah.
Okay. That's that sort of weight, that cultural weight, right? And it might just be for that generation. Maybe it's multiple generations, like the Beatles or somebody like that. But even now, like, I don't know how that happens anymore, because even if something was really popular right now, and it would just only be popular with a handful of groups.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have things like the radio where that was all that people listened to, and they played these 40 songs. So everybody knew what those 40 songs were.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore.
It's sad. It would be fun to go back and see what it's like. However, the opportunities right now are insane. Now, do you think
pros and cons?
Yes. Do you think it's by chance or by skill that, like, you know, not cultural giants like, you know, we mentioned, but like cultural icons potentially, like Taylor Swift, Morgan Wallen, Post Malone, Justin Bieber? Do you think it was skill or by chance? Is there a chance involved in all of it, or is it like very skillfully, meticulously marketed to the point where like they might become cultural giants? Will they become cultural giants? But I know they're definitely icons. They're huge.
Well, I think that Taylor Swift is in that category.
Okay.
Like, she's maybe one of the last huge stars, and So I'd break her off. But let's look at like, and Justin Bieber's of that age too, but not nearly as big. So I don't see him having the type of longevity that a Taylor Swift will continue to have. But let's look at like a little bit newer, like Morgan Wallen, Post Malone, that kind of stuff. Huge artists, right?
Huge.
But if you asked, you know, I don't know, like your uncle or somebody who they are, if they've heard of them, it's probably pretty likely that maybe they haven't.
Oof.
You know, I bet there's still a lot of people that don't know who those artists are at all. And the equivalent of if you went back to the 80s or the 90s and you asked about a Van Halen or you asked about a Michael Jackson or somebody like that, your uncle knows who that is.
My mom probably knows who Michael Jackson is.
Yeah, exactly. Like they may not listen to him, but they would know because it would be impossible not to because of all the media channels that, you know, you were exposed to. It was just more concentrated. So first to clarify that, I think that Post Malone and artists that are of that size today will still struggle to have that kind of cultural impact as generations before them. Now, in terms of your question with talent versus luck and that sort of thing, I think that anybody that's really successful today has talent. Like, I don't think you can fake it anymore. There was like a period where that was kind of a thing.
AI won't replace you.
The 90s and the 2000s and that sort of thing, where there was like artists that couldn't sing and there was, you know, I don't think that's the case today. No, like if you're doing it today, you are really, really good. You are very good. So talent is a prerequisite to being successful, but luck is also a part of it. And that's not to take away from anybody that's successful. Like, of course, they've worked hard. They've made the right choices or decisions, put themselves in, you know, have the right opportunities presented to them, all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't want to take that away. But to say that luck isn't a part of it is ignorant. I'm sorry. It's just ignorant of all of the people that are just as talented and it doesn't work out for them.
Yes.
Because they weren't in the right place.
Right place, right time.
Yeah, it is a part of it.
Yeah.
And I'm frustrated because I feel like if you say that, then, you know, people can get upset about like, well, no, I worked really hard for this. And I don't want to take that away. You did. Sure. Yes. But you should also acknowledge that it worked out for you. There's a thing in general that I feel like is happening. It's not new, I suppose, but I think we're more exposed to it because of social media, which is you have a whole bunch of successful people online saying, you should do this because I did it and it worked.
Yeah.
Okay, but it worked for you. What about all the others that it didn't work for? They're not on social media saying, don't do this. I did it and it didn't work. Because who would do that? Who wants to go on social media and just talk about all the things that didn't work for them and how they failed at whatever they tried and whatever? Nobody. All you're going to hear is the stories that worked.
Yes.
And so then we get this idea that, okay, well, if I do this and if I follow these steps and if I work hard enough and all that, and it's like, well, those are all good things to do, but it doesn't guarantee that it's going to work. Sometimes things just don't work out.
No.
Life happens for a number of reasons.
Yes.
Right? And then you have to pivot and you have to do whatever else. So what we have is survivor bias ship ultimately, right? Or survivor bias. That if we only hear from those people, then you're not getting the whole story.
What you said really resonated with me because I'm like, a lot of it is genuinely right place, right time. And there's no clear path. You kind of have to try everything. You kind of have to try volume and quality at the same time. It's a lot of hard work. It's a full-time job. But realistically, there's a lot of God involved in all this. Like there's a lot of, like you can't just say, I did this and here's a clear path. It just happens that it worked out. And yes, we were right on the cusp of YouTube becoming a thing for the Slavic community. And we were pre that, kind of like Joe Rogan. He was right before the crazy podcast wave. That's why he's still #1 podcast.
Yeah.
Because he was there and he was present.
That is a super important factor. Is he also good at what he does? Yes. Are you guys also good at what you do? Yes. But to just say that's why is not the whole story.
Yes.
And, you're saying that because you have, good morals. Like you could start a side hustle, Steffen, of like get to 100,000 subscribers. Here's how I did it. Sign up for my $100 masterclass and you could come up with 10 points and you could sell that thing, right? But deep down, you'd probably go, of all the people that do this though, how many of them will actually ever get to 100,000 subscribers? And you'd probably know that answer is going to be close to 0.
True. I do have one success story.
Great.
One success story. That's one success story where a buddy came to me. We were sitting in LA by the pool, I remember, and it was late at night. And he looks at me and he's like super duper tired. And he's like, Steffen, I really want to be successful on YouTube. Can you give me the secret? And I said, sure, I'll give you a secret, but you have to promise me you're going to follow it. He's like, I promise you, dead or alive, I lost my job, I have nothing. I live in my parents' basement, so I don't care about bills. All I want to do is just know how to be successful on YouTube. And he had a niche. His niche was ultimately talking about other YouTube celebrities and other celebrities and just commenting on those. He's very charismatic, funny guy, right? So I'm sure he was going to be like, I'm like, yeah, this is going to work out. So I told him one thing. And I said, here's the deal. Got to post every day. Got to make sure it's good quality stuff every day. And I'm like, don't take Sundays off. Talking about every freaking day. Do that for 1 year and then call me. He did it. Every day. It was the same exact scene. I hope he's watching this. His name is Connor. He had a blue screen, a computer, a camera up there, and he was literally just headphones and a little mic. He invested I don't think it was a lot that he invested. Ultimately, he was just talking to the camera, talking about all the things that was going on. He surpassed 100,000 subscribers in 1 year.
Good for him.
And this is the best part. This is what blew my mind. He's like, Steffen, can you shoot my wedding, engagement photos? I'm like, of course. So I show up to the engagement session. He runs and leaps into my arms and says, Steffen, I am now able to afford a better wedding for me and my fiance because the earnings from the YouTube channel is better than I could ever imagine. Almost 5 figures. But come on, man, a month? I'm like, that's one thing, like, it's a hit or miss. You still have to have talent. He's a very talented, charismatic person. He was very consistent. 365 days of posting every day is tough.
And that's where it gets tricky because the advice that you gave him was good advice. And if you want to go do these kind of things, you should get that advice. It's important advice, Hey, it's got to be good. It's got to be consistent. You're going to have to work hard. So we get that, right? We get that. And that will help the select few succeed.
Yes.
But it cannot help everyone.
No.
Right?
Still back to the point, right?
Right. And
it's the reality.
So just the reality is it can't. And what becomes difficult to do is if you are genuinely trying to help people is, well, then how do you do that? Because are you then going to decide like, well, you should take this advice, but you don't bother? What do you do about that?
Yeah.
Right? You can't do that. Like I have artists come in the studio all the time that I'm like, okay, this person's really, really talented. This person less so. Am I going to just say, well, you shouldn't make music? No, that's not what I'm going to do. Like their dreams might be the same.
Yeah.
It's not really for me to say.
Yeah.
I don't really know what the solution to this is. I'm just saying that it's important that if you're trying to do it, you need to understand the whole picture, which is that it's not just the success stories. Like it just might not work out. So make sure you enjoy doing it,
Yes.
and that you can get other skills from it, and that there's going to be other benefits of it, whether that's the community that you form,
Yes.
because art is such a great place to find community. Whether it could be a partner, it could be friends. That can be benefits. Obviously, the skills of learning how to speak to a camera and present and entertain or play an instrument or all of that, really helpful in anything that you might do later on. So you have to just look at the whole picture of like, if you're all in and you need to become famous, well, that might not be the best situation.
Yeah.
But if you're serious about it and you want to go for it.
Yeah.
Do that. But just also understand that you can do everything right, and it may not work out.
It may not work out, and that's kind of the chance of everything, right? Yeah, the reality. Social media aside, and all the cultural stuff aside, live music. Where and how do you think music has evolved, especially live music, when we had shows of stadiums, and we still do have to a certain extent? Do you feel like it's dying out a little bit, live music, or is it still going strong and growing?
It's a good question. I feel like I have conflicting answers to that. I haven't like read a recent report on the state of, touring numbers and things like that. But I can speak to a couple things. One is that I think on a local level, on a small level, it's pretty tough because this generation drinks far less, and live music happens at bars by and large. And so it can be really difficult to get people out to a show, to get them to stop being on their devices and actually go out into the real world.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. I've heard that from a lot of artists. Larger than that, you go up a tier. I've also heard that it can be tough, and that's partially, let's say like, I don't know, just some fictional middle tier of touring artists, right? And maybe selling out stuff too, filling up clubs, not stadiums, but clubs. That can still be difficult just because of the expense of touring. You have a whole team that's employed to pull this thing off. You have all the transportation costs of buses and equipment, and then lodging. And so once you sell tickets, there's not a ton of money left.
Yeah.
So I think that can be really genuinely difficult. And then you have the Taylor Swifts.
Yeah.
That's just an outlier. I don't even see how you factor that in to what everybody else is doing. But that's so headline worthy. And in, let's say, not quite her level, but just anybody that's up there, like top 40 kind of artist, yes, they are making millions. But there's only a few of them, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that even that could come with challenges depending on whatever their deal is structured with record labels. Some of them have a lot of ownership over what they're doing, and some of them have less. They have a lot of attention. They have a lot of attention currency, which can be used to make money in other ways. In general, people don't buy music, right? So you can turn followers and attention into money in other ways, and so that can be good. But the other side of that too is like even the ones that are doing really, really well at top, there's pushback because fans can't afford to go.
Yeah.
If it costs $500, $1,000 to go to a show, that's really limiting who's going to be able to buy those tickets.
Oh yeah.
So is that the future? That doesn't seem like the right future.
I wanted to go to Morgan Wallen's concert, $800 for whatever seats, and I was like, $800?
Yeah, and part of that is that it is so expensive to do the tour.
Yeah.
So, and some of it's just, artists are trying to make money where they can make money because they're not making it on the music. You haven't paid anything to actually listen to that music except for your Spotify subscription, which is nothing, right? So can you blame them to want to make some money?
No.
But at the same time, that's not going to last, can it? Like that doesn't seem like the right solution to the music business. So
And I feel like I've seen a lot of musicians even pivot into the sponsorship deals, right? They'll do ads and they'll like promote certain kind of brands and promote certain kind of agendas or cultural changes, and probably another either money grab or an actual something that aligns with them. But you can see them changing versus because expensive. Touring is expensive. Streaming doesn't pay. So they gotta find ways and niches to actually make that the money.
The music business is such a impossible thing to like for people that aren't in it to like understand. And I was thinking about it actually the last couple of days, and I think I kind of came up with an analogy of like what it's like. So imagine you were walking down a street that's only restaurants, right? And all of the food is free. Okay, it's all free. You can go anywhere. And so the chefs are there because they love to cook. Some of them are really amazing at it too. They love to cook. And so you get to walk into any restaurant you want, sample that food for free, and move on. Now, the restaurant has to make money somehow. And so what happens is instead of taking cash, they go for attention. They try to build up their followers. They try to, some of them are going to teach, right? They're going to teach how to cook this food to other people that want to be as good as they are at it. They might do catering or some other commercial work on the side, right? But they have to find some other way because food is free in this world.
Right.
Okay. And that's a little bit like the music business. But here's the main thing now is imagine instead of it just being that street filled with restaurants, it's every street in the world is accessible to you to walk down and they're all free. That's the music business. All music is free and you can go any place you want for it. You can listen to Pakistani music. You can listen to the best artists in California. You can listen to the best artists in Australia, whatever, anytime you want, for free. So those artists have to figure out a way to keep that restaurant open. And that's tricky. That's really tricky.
How do you stay inspired? I mean, you've been in the industry for producer, musician, over 2 decades.
Yeah.
How in the world do you get inspired to wake up every morning, go to work and say, you know what, I'm going to make this song or artist amazing?
I would say that inspiration is a little bit of a byproduct of the work rather than the catalyst for the work.
Ooh.
When you had asked about the creative process, this was also something that kind of crossed my mind as another one of those answers. So we could tie it back into that to some extent, which is, I think you have to show up regardless of if you're inspired or not. You have to be dedicated to show up and work. And if you do that, if you have that routine and you're, hey, I'm going to make something, I'm going to show up, I'm going to put in the time, then the inspiration can come later. It'll actually come out of that. So at the earlier part of my career, I would say I was inspired because I was just enamored with music. I loved it. What's there not to love? It was fun, the people, everything about it. It's clearly, right?
Yeah.
And then as that fades a little bit and it's not new and it's not exciting and I've done hundreds and hundreds of records, then, okay, now it can feel repetitive. I've done this before, so on. Then the inspiration has come from what I can do to help this person, right? That like seeing something transform, seeing somebody genuinely, hear their song for the first time and just being like, so emotional about it, to little games that you can play with yourself of like, could I do this better than I've done it the other 100 times? Like, is there a way around this, that I haven't done before?
Yeah.
Is there a more elegant solution to this problem? Can I be more efficient with it? Or can I just beat my own personal record in that sense, of whatever bar you hold? I think you have to find internal things that you're inspired by versus external. Obviously, if I'm winning Grammys and working with the biggest artists, again, that it'd be like, well, it's inspiring because of all the obvious things you're watching. But that has never been my career. It's always been in the trenches, local artists, hard work, and where very few people ever hear them. And that's okay, because you're measuring something else. If you're measuring the external success, that can be really difficult. You try to measure, things like most improved project.
I was going to ask you about that. What's the most improved project from a demo to a miracle?
I've had a few. Yeah, I've definitely had a few. They're probably hard to explain versus just like hearing, like, here's what this demo was and here's. And I would say that most of those most improveds still would never make my like portfolio. They wouldn't, they're not something I would say, hey, you should listen to this.
Yeah.
But they are ones that I'm still proud of personally, because it was so lost. And then it got somewhere, like where it was to where it ended, amazing transformation. Yeah, it's still not good enough. But it's an amazing transformation, right? And I'm proud of those too. And that is part of what helps that inspiration, I think, for me. I think the longer I've done it, the more my perspective has shifted to those kind of things as rewards than, any sort of like watching the artist go on a tour or hit 100,000 subscribers. Like, those are really cool. They're really cool things, but I think it's not everything. Metrics are easy and convenient ways to get sort of validation, but at the end of the day, you have to be happy with what you're doing.
Yes.
The numbers and those goalposts can move. They often do. Once from an artist perspective, once they have 1 million streams, now they want 10 million or 100 million, and it just kind of keeps moving. And it can be the same for me. Like, oh, once I've helped an artist get to this point, then I want to see them get to this point. And like, it's sort of just a recipe to be unhappy.
True.
And so I think that if that's where you're trying to draw inspiration from, it'll be short-lived.
Yeah.
So you have to find other ways.
Proudest moment in your career?
The Sharakovs.
Oh, I was hoping you'd say that.
That's a tough thing to wrap up, of course. I can list a handful of things, but I would genuinely say that working with you guys has been one of my proudest things. Most successful group I've worked with. I can say that. One of the longest, 10 years coming up. I'm really proud of that we've had a productive, healthy, and successful relationship for so long. That takes work, of course. And seeing what you guys have accomplished has been really, really cool. I'm also proud of running a business for that long, especially one as hard as this recording studio. I know what that's taken, and regardless of how it looks to anyone else or any of those other things, like, I'm very, very, very proud of starting it and getting it going, and then seeing it grow, and the amount of people we've helped, and, knowing the impact that music has on people's lives, especially I think the people that are making it, and as well as fans, the untold fans that your music has reached, that we'll never know what a song did for them. But knowing what it did for you guys is enough for me, and how it's made the artist feel that makes it. I'm really proud of that. I think that music has such an important position in our culture. I think that it's one of the most amazing things in the world. I think it's one of the best art forms. It doesn't create any waste, really. It's literally just vibrations in the air. A song,
Yeah.
It's just energy, and vibrations in the air, and you get to make this thing, and it lasts forever, and you can share it with as many people as you want, and it gets to make people feel a certain way. Like, there's not many other things out there that can really do that. That it doesn't matter what languages it's in. It can be global instantly. I don't know. That's special. It doesn't expire. You know, it's not something that will go away all of a sudden. And you know, if I was going to spend 17 years, you know, making something, that's one of the best things I could hope to make.
I love that. I love that. If you were going to give any advice to a young producer who is starting out, through the challenges, through the thickness, through the good stuff, through the amazing stuff, what would it be?
I think that there's sort of, just for ease of looking at the situation, if you're brand new to this, there's sort of two paths. There's go all in, go crazy, just go for it as hard as you can. And then there's be a little more tactful, think the long game. That's probably the more responsible way to go. But I also was the type that went all in. So, you know, do with it what you will. But I think it can help to kind of figure out which one of these do you want to do. Actually thinking and deciding first. Because the all-in approach is scary and there's a lot of risk involved, financially especially. But, you know, big reward. The other way can take a long time, but could be healthier, potentially. And so I'll talk about those two things. One, if you kind of basically get a job, right?
Yeah.
Get your life in order where you've got your bills paid, but you have free time.
Yeah.
And then use all of your free time to work on the stuff that you love. Because you got a job, you can say no to projects. You don't have to take on everything because you're not making your living this way. That's the big upside to this. You could potentially work for free. You could just find artists that you're like, I love what you're doing. I will, don't work for free forever, but to get started, you could, hey, let me do this part for you and like get your foot in the door and start making relationships. And slowly, you won't be able to give everything because you still have to go to this job, right? But at least you have a roof over your head and food on your table and all that stuff. And the stress will be lower, right? And you can slowly build a career that way. That's one thing. And the other side is you go all in. That's where I say you should save up some money so you have a little bit of a pad. And then you should move to LA or Nashville or Atlanta if you want to do that. But get to a big music hub and then make as many friends as you can and get as good at that thing as you possibly can. You probably should have some skills before you move, or unless you're already located there. But, put yourself in the mix. Yes, you can be a producer from anywhere and you could have a success, but you'll get better opportunities if you're in the mix, if you're in these places where record labels live and things like that. There are all kinds of producers that work with bigger artists that I'm pretty confident I could say I could run circles around them in terms of my skills versus them.
Yeah.
But they're there. They're there. They're willing to be in that city.
Right.
And they're going to have the opportunity to do it. And their skills are good enough.
Yeah.
That's how it works, people. Like,
yeah.
You don't have to be the best. You have to be good enough and be willing to do it and be in the right place at the right time. So if you want that, then you need to be in the mix. So I think those are your two paths. You decide, you pick one. And then both directions, in terms of advice, you need to have really good networking skills. Who you know is more important than how good you are at stuff. That's, again, not to say you can be bad. You have to be good. But there's a big gray area of like, yeah, you can be this good and it'll be good enough. Because a lot of times, especially on bigger projects, you're only one piece of the puzzle. You're not doing everything. So other people might compensate, right?
Right.
And you could be this good too, and that's great. That's even better. But it doesn't matter. If you're this good and you don't have the connection to get that opportunity, the person that's this good will still get it.
Yes.
And it'll work out, and that record will still do well. because your contribution is only one of many, and it's not the thing. Like your snare sound isn't the reason that song got big. Like it's because the songwriting was good.
Oh,
and
that snare sound was good.
It might be great. It might be.
And the placement.
and good for you on that. But there's so many other variables, like who mixed it and how did the song get promoted? Is this artist signed? Is this artist big on TikTok? All these other things have way bigger influence over your contribution as a producer or engineer. So you have to recognize that. It's a huge jigsaw puzzle of things that are out of your control. So control what you can, but know that connections are a huge part of this thing, and that luck factor that we've talked about earlier. Like you got to be in the right place, you got to do all those things. So understand that if you don't want to move and you don't have the funds to risk all of that, and then the other way is perfectly fine. There's a lot of people that are successful that way too. But get your life in order so that you don't have to be straddling both things. Just know hey, I'm going to do this, but then with the free time that I have, I'm only working on the best stuff I can possibly find. Don't waste your time on anything that you don't think is going to be excellent.
Before we wrap up, I have one more question for you.
Sure.
And this is a deep one, but here we go. After all is said and done, what would you like to be remembered for?
I think the way I would answer that question is less so what I want to be remembered for and more so how I want to act. Because I don't get to choose what people are going to remember me for. It's not up to me. And I have no control over that. I think thinking of a legacy or something like that is a little pointless, All I can do is decide what kind of person I want to be and then hope that I live up to those standards. And to answer that, I hope that I'm always kind and patient and a good friend and a good listener. I think those are things that I value in the people that I surround myself with. And, as much as it would be great to be I hope that people know my name as a music producer and all that stuff, I don't know if I care that much about that specifically. I'd much rather people value the experience that they had with me versus the results that they got from something, or, because, maybe I've always enjoyed helping people and trying to serve people. And I've done that through music. And maybe the thing that I did for somebody that they'll remember me for is specifically the music. I doubt that. I bet it's more that I listened to them while they needed it the most. I have a lot of people come in that are doing projects that are therapeutic for them, and they're going through something and they just needed that outlet, and I was there for them, and they're going to remember me for that. Mm-hmm. Other people might remember me for some other aspect of the relationship we had that was important because of what they needed out of that relationship. Maybe it was different for me, but that's okay. That's what I mean. I can't control that. So I just want to control who I can be and try to be consistent and try to help others.
I love that. I remember when we had Red Cow and you showed up. Just showing up was cool, so many people will cancel. So many people will not show up. You said you're going to be there. You were there. That was sick. And I remember those laughs and the time. And I think we were celebrating 4 years or something. But it was that burger and those tater tots. It was just a great
I think
night.
that was the first time you guys had got a video past 1 million streams.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. And it was nice. It was such a fun time. We did it again, and we should do it again and again.
We absolutely should.
But those moments for me mean a lot, because it's absolutely special. But
yeah, I think the question is well, what would you remember me for, Steffen? If I was gone tomorrow, what would matter to you? Because that might be a surprise to me. I doubt your answer would be those beats, man. That killer.
Those quality sneers.
The way that 10K shines on the vocals, nobody could do it. Right?
No, for sure. No, I think it's a lot more. It's a lot deeper for me than that. You know, like I said, even showing up or the friendship that we have, it's a lot higher than what you would make. Even though you create incredible work, like, and there's day and night even compared to the remasters that you've done or the music we've done, and over the 10 years, it's always been top quality. But yeah, it's definitely deeper than that, and I think you definitely show that in being the best version of yourself every day.
I appreciate that.
Of course. Stephen, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for chatting with me. I really enjoyed this.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for asking me. I appreciate you doing this, and it's nice to be the person not asking the questions for once. So this was fun. It was fun for me. Appreciate it.
I love it.